I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. I've always prided myself on being a good husband to Lisa. We met in college and it felt like destiny. She was everything I wanted, smart, funny, and incredibly beautiful. Our marriage was built on love, mutual respect, and well, what I thought was a shared commitment. But over the past few months, something shifted. I could feel it, like a growing shadow lurking at the edges of my happiness. It started with little things. She was always busy, her phone seemed glued to her hand, and the late nights at work became more frequent. I brushed it off as normal stress, but deep down I had this gnawing suspicion that something wasn't right. The initial signs of trouble were subtle. I remember one evening I was scrolling through my phone when I stumbled upon an old text. It was from a friend, asking me how things were going with Lisa. I replied, saying everything was great. But then I thought about it, was everything really great? The texts had a strange tone. I shrugged it off at the time, convincing myself I was just overthinking. But the feeling wouldn't go away. I started noticing how she would flinch when I touched her. Our intimate moments dwindled to almost nothing. I tried to talk to her about it once, but she brushed me off with a dismissive laugh, saying I was being paranoid. Then one fateful Friday night, the truth came crashing down. I was excited to have a quiet evening with her, maybe cook dinner together, but when I got home, she wasn't there. I called her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. This was unusual. She always let me know if she'd be late. I felt a pit in my stomach. I decided to wait a bit longer, thinking she might just be stuck at work. After an hour passed, I started to pace around the living room, anxiety clawing at my insides. That's when I noticed her jacket lying on the couch. I picked it up and felt something weird in the pocket, a receipt. I pulled it out and my heart sank. It was from a restaurant, one I knew she liked. But what caught my eye was the time stamped on it. She had been there just a few hours ago with someone else. I felt a mix of anger and betrayal surged through me. I was shaking as I put on my coat and stormed out of the house. I wasn't sure where I was going, but I needed answers. I drove to the restaurant, my mind racing. As I approached the place, I caught sight of her car parked outside. A sickening wave of dread washed over me. I walked inside, scanning the tables until I spotted her. There she was, sitting across from a guy, laughing, leaning in clothes. My vision narrowed on them and I felt something inside me snap. I burst through the door, and the moment she saw me, her expression turned from joy to horror. The guy looked at me, confusion etched on his face. I felt the heat rising in my cheeks as I approached their table, my heart pounding in my ears. "Lisa, we need to talk. Now." The words left my mouth like a growl. The shock on her face was almost comical, but the anger bubbling inside me overshadowed any humor. The guy looked at her and she quickly scrambled to explain. "Oh, it's not what it looks like," she stammered, her voice rising. "We were just having dinner, it's a work thing." Her excuses poured out of her like a waterfall, but I wasn't having any of it. I could see the panic in her eyes, and it fueled my rage even more. The confrontation spiraled out of control, with her trying to cover her tracks and me demanding the truth. She threw out a few weak justifications, but everything sounded hollow. I could see that the woman I thought I knew was crumbling before my eyes. I realized in that moment that I was no longer just her husband. I was a stranger witnessing the facade of her perfect life collapse. I stormed out of the restaurant, leaving her behind, the weight of betrayal heavy on my chest. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, staring into an abyss of anger and sorrow. How did we get here? What had gone wrong? And more importantly, could I ever forgive her? The drive home was a blur. My mind was racing with a whirlwind of emotions. I felt anger bubbling to the surface, but there was also a deep sadness I couldn't ignore. The thought of losing everything we had built together felt unbearable. I parked the car in front of our house, but I couldn't bring myself to step inside. I sat there for what felt like hours, replaying every moment in my mind, searching for signs I might have missed, trying to make sense of it all. Eventually, I took a deep breath and stepped out, knowing that the real battle was just beginning. Entering the house felt surreal, as if I was walking back into a dream that had turned into a nightmare. The familiar surroundings, a cozy living room cluttered with our shared memories, now felt foreign, tainted by betrayal. The scent of her favorite candle still lingered in the air, but instead of comfort, it sent a pang of bitterness through me. I couldn't shake off the image of her with that guy laughing, the way her eyes sparkled in a way I hadn't seen in months. I stood there, frozen by the weight of it all. I knew I couldn't let it fester. I needed to confront her again, but this time, I wanted to approach it differently. I spent the next hour pacing around the house, trying to come up with the right words. I felt like a soldier preparing for battle, knowing that one wrong move could lead to more pain. When she finally came home, her expression was guarded, as if she knew that the calm sea before a storm was about to erupt. "Where were you?" I asked, my voice steady, but the underlying hurt laced every word. I was determined to present a facade of control, even though I felt like I was crumbling inside. "I was out with some coworkers," she replied, her tone dismissive as she walked past me to the kitchen. "I thought you were going to be busy tonight." "Busy? You mean busy worrying about where my wife was?" I replied, my voice rising. "You think I'm just going to ignore what I saw?" She stopped in her tracks, turning to face me, the defiance in her posture faltering for a brief second. "What are you talking about?" I took a deep breath. "You know exactly what I'm talking about, Lisa. You were at that restaurant with him. Don't even try to deny it." Her expression shifted from confusion to anger. "How dare you? You do know what you're talking about. It was just a dinner." "A dinner?" I scoffed, disbelief flooding my veins. "A dinner where you were all over him. Spare me the excuses." The tension crackled between us. I watched as she tried to gather her thoughts, her facade of control slipping as the truth began to unravel. "You're being ridiculous. You're overreacting because you're jealous." "Jealous?" I laughed bitterly. "No, Lisa, I'm in shock. I didn't think you were capable of this kind of betrayal." "Betrayal?" Her voice was incredulous, a mix of anger and defensiveness. "You haven't exactly been the most attentive husband lately. Maybe if you had paid more attention to me instead of your work, I wouldn't have felt so neglected." I felt the blood rush to my face, and for a moment I was speechless. How could she turn this around on me? I had been working hard to provide for us, to build a life together. "So this is your excuse? You couldn't just talk to me. You had to go behind my back." She opened her mouth to respond, but I could see the cracks in her armor forming. The bravado faded, and for a split second I saw genuine remorse flicker in her eyes. I didn't mean for it to happen like this," she finally admitted, her voice trembling. "I just felt so alone, and he was there. It was a mistake." "A mistake?" I repeated, the word burning like acid on my tongue. "You don't get to call it a mistake when you willingly chose to betray me. You made a choice, Lisa." I could see her wavering, the weight of her actions crashing down on her. "I didn't think you'd find out," she said, almost in a whisper. "I thought I could fix things before you ever knew." "Fix what?" I snapped, frustration boiling over. "Fix your happiness at the expense of our marriage. You think that's how this works?" Tears began to well in her eyes, and part of me felt a twinge of sympathy, but I quickly pushed it down. "What do you want me to say?" she finally asked, her voice cracking. "I'm sorry. Is that what you want to hear? I didn't mean to hurt you." "I don't know what I want to hear, Lisa," I replied, my voice strained. "I just know that everything I thought we had is shattered." The emotional weight hung heavily in the room. We stood there in silence, the air thick with tension. I could feel my heart racing, a mixture of anger, pain, and confusion swirling within me. I didn't have the answers I was looking for, and as much as I wanted to scream and yell, I knew that would only lead to more heartache. Eventually, she broke the silence, her voice shaky. "What do we do now?" I considered her question, my mind racing with possibilities. I had no idea how to salvage our marriage, how to heal the wounds that had been inflicted. "I need time to think," I finally said, feeling drained. "I don't know if I can just forgive and forget. You've broken my trust." "Please," she begged, taking a step closer. "Don't give up on us. I'll do whatever it takes to make it right." But could I trust her words? The thought of trying to piece our lives back together felt insurmountable. I felt like I was standing at a crossroads, unsure of which path to take. Would I choose to fight for our marriage, or would I walk away from the woman I once loved? The decision loomed over me, heavy and foreboding, as I tried to navigate the storm that had suddenly engulfed our lives. As much as I wanted to believe it was fixable, doubt gnawed at me like a hungry beast. The next few days were a blur of confusion and heartache. I went through the motions of work and daily life, but my mind was glued to the unraveling of my marriage. Each moment was a reminder of what I had lost. I couldn't look at Lisa without feeling that deep pang of betrayal clawing at my insides. We shared a house, but it felt more like a prison than a home. The walls echoed with memories of laughter and love, now tainted by deceit. Our conversations were strained. I could see the guilt weighing heavily on her, and while part of me wanted to comfort her, I was trapped in my own storm of emotions. I had never seen Lisa like this before, vulnerable, scared, and desperately seeking forgiveness. Yet every time she opened her mouth to explain, to plead with me to give her another chance, I felt that familiar anger bubble to the surface. One evening, as I stared blankly at the television, she approached me. "Can we please talk?" I sighed, feeling the tension return. "What's there to talk about, Lisa? You cheated on me. You shattered everything we built." "I know," she replied, her voice trembling. "But I want to explain. I want to show you that I can change. I'll do anything. Please just give me a chance." "How can I believe anything you say?" I shot back, the hurt twisting like a knife in my chest. "You've lied to me already." "I was scared," she confessed. "I thought you'd leave me if I told you how I felt. I felt so alone, and he was just there to listen." "That's no excuse," I exclaimed, my voice rising. "You didn't just listen to him, you let him into our bed. You crossed a line that you can't just erase. Do you understand that?" Her face fell and tears streamed down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I could handle it, but it got out of control. I was stupid. Stupid." The word hung in the air, and I couldn't help but feel a bitter taste in my mouth. That was the crux of it, wasn't it? A moment of weakness that had shattered years of commitment. "What do you want from me, Lisa?" I asked, my voice softening just a bit. "To pretend this did happen?" "No," she answered, desperation in her eyes. "I want to fix it. I want to go to therapy, to do whatever it takes to make things right between us. I want you to know that I love you." Love. The word felt foreign in this context. I desperately wished I could take her words at face value, but the bitterness of unfaithfulness lingered like a toxic cloud. "I don't know if I can trust your love anymore," I admitted, a knot forming in my throat. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken fears. I thought about our wedding vows, the promises we made to each other. They felt like a distant memory now, something that belonged to a different time and place. The love we had once shared felt tainted by this betrayal. Could it ever be whole again? I decided I needed space to think, to figure out what I wanted. "I don't want to make any rash decisions right now," I finally said. "But I can't stay here pretending everything is okay." "Where will you go?" she asked, panic rising in her voice. "Just for a few days," I replied. "I'll get a hotel or something. I need time to clear my head." "Please don't leave," she begged, desperation creeping into her tone. "I can't lose you. I'll do better, I promise. Just give me a chance." It was painful to see her so distraught, but I couldn't let that override the hurt she had inflicted on me. "I need to figure out if I even want to be in this marriage anymore," I said, my voice steady. "I'll be back in a few days. I just need to think." With that, I grabbed a few essentials and walked out the door, leaving the house that had once felt like a sanctuary. The drive to the hotel was agonizing. I felt hollowed out, like a shell of the person I used to be. The world outside continued to move. People went about their lives, blissfully unaware of the chaos churning inside me. Settling into the hotel room felt surreal. It was a small space, plain and uninviting, but it was mine, free from the memories that haunted me. I spent the first night tossing and turning, wrestling with my thoughts. The betrayal played on repeat in my mind, a cruel loop that refused to fade. I had loved Lisa, trusted her completely, and now that trust was gone. Could I ever forgive her? Could we rebuild what had been lost? The next few days were a mix of anger and sorrow. I sought solace in nightly walks, drowning out my thoughts with the bustle of the city. I avoided calls from friends and family, too embarrassed to share what had happened. I spent hours contemplating the future, weighing the pros and cons of staying versus leaving. Then one evening I received a text from Lisa. "I miss you. I'm so sorry, please come home." I felt a pang in my chest at her words. I missed her too. But what did that even mean? I was torn between the love I had for her and the pain that had been inflicted. I couldn't shake the thought that the woman I once knew was slipping away, replaced by someone who had betrayed my trust. As I stared at the message, I realized I had a decision to make. I could either choose to confront this head-on, to wrestle with the hurt and see if there was a way back from the brink, or I could walk away, severing ties and starting anew. The thought of rebuilding my life without her was daunting, but the idea of staying in a relationship riddled with doubt was terrifying. I took a deep breath and put my phone down. The clock ticked loudly in the silence of the hotel room. I needed to face her again, to confront the truth of what had happened. But this time, I would hold the power. I wouldn't let her dictate the terms of our reconciliation. I wouldn't let her lies linger in the air. I was determined to seek clarity, no matter how painful it would be. After a few days of self-reflection and emotional wrestling, I finally decided it was time to face Lisa again. I felt a mix of anxiety and resolve as I drove back home. Each mile felt like a step toward the unknown, a leap into a chasm that could either lead to healing or further heartache. The closer I got, the more the weight of our impending conversation pressed on my chest. When I walked through the door, the house felt eerily quiet. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. Lisa emerged from the kitchen, her eyes widening with hope at the sight of me. "You're back," she said, her voice a mixture of relief and apprehension. "Yeah," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "We need to talk." I led her to the living room, where we had shared countless moments of joy and laughter. The sight of our familiar surroundings only intensified the sense of loss that hung in the air. I sat down, trying to maintain a calm demeanor despite the turmoil raging inside me. Lisa took a seat across from me, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, as if bracing for the worst. "First, I want to say that I've thought a lot about everything," I began, my voice steady. "About us, about what happened. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I also can't ignore what you did." "I know," she interrupted, her voice shaking. "I'm so sorry, I can't express how much I regret it. I promise it meant nothing. I just felt so lost, and he was there." "Stop," I cut her off. "You need to understand that this isn't just about what happened. This is about trust, about the foundation of our marriage. You've broken that, and it's going to take a lot to rebuild it. I need to know you're willing to do the work." Tears welled in her eyes. "I'll do anything. I'll go to therapy. I'll be open and honest. Just please don't give up on me." Her desperation tugged at my heart, but I had to remember why I was there. "I need to hear the truth from you, Lisa. No more excuses, no more lies. I want you to take me back to that night when you chose to go out with him instead of coming home." She took a shaky breath, visibly struggling with the weight of her actions. "I didn't think you'd care. You were so busy with work and I felt invisible. It was a terrible choice and I regret it every day, but I was seeking a connection that I thought I lost." "Do you realize how selfish that is?" I asked, my voice rising slightly. "You didn't just hurt me, you put your own needs above our marriage. You made a choice to betray my trust and our vows. What makes you think that I can just forget that?" "I don't expect you to forget," she said, her voice trembling. "I just hope you can understand why it happened. I let my insecurities take over. I thought I could keep it hidden, that it wouldn't matter, but it did, and now I'm paying the price." "I need more than just words, Lisa," I replied, my tone softening slightly. "I need to see real change. I need you to prove that you want to make this work. We can't keep living like this, where I'm constantly questioning your loyalty, your intentions." "I know," she said, her eyes pleading. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'll go to therapy and I'll be transparent with you. You deserve that, just please give me a chance." I considered her words carefully, feeling the weight of our shared history pressing upon me. It was difficult to envision a future without her, but it was equally hard to ignore the reality of what she had done. "What if I decide I can't trust you again?" I asked, my voice tinged with uncertainty. "Then I'll accept it," she replied, her voice steady. "I won't stop fighting for us. I love you and I believe we can get through this if we both try." Love. That word felt heavy, layered with the pain of betrayal. I thought about the moments when I had felt her slipping away, the nights I had spent alone wondering where she was and why she didn't come home. "I want to believe you," I said, "but it's going to take time." "I'm willing to be patient," she said earnestly. "I promise I'll be honest with you even when it's hard. Just please don't shut me out." As I sat there weighing my options, I felt a mix of hope and dread. There was a flicker of the love we once had, buried beneath the rubble of betrayal, but could I truly allow myself to be vulnerable again? Let's take this one step at a time, I finally said, my voice steady. We'll seek counseling together, but you need to understand that I'm not going to just jump back into this without knowing I can trust you again. You will have to earn that back. I'll do it, she promised, relief flooding her face. I'll do whatever it takes. I want to make this right. As the conversation continued, I felt a cautious optimism replace some of the anger that had consumed me. It was a tentative start, but it was a start nonetheless. We talked about boundaries, about what it meant to rebuild our relationship on a foundation of honesty and vulnerability. I shared my fears and insecurities, and she reciprocated with her own, revealing the struggles she had faced that had led her to make such a catastrophic decision. We decided to seek couples therapy together to help navigate the rough waters ahead. It wouldn't be easy, but perhaps it was the first step toward healing. As we concluded our conversation, I realized that while the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, we were both willing to fight for what we had. In that moment, I felt a flicker of hope, a fragile light in the darkness. It was a reminder that even after a storm, the sun could shine again. I wasn't ready to forgive her entirely, but I was willing to try. Together, we would have to confront the demons of our past and build a new future, brick by brick, trust by trust. It was going to be a long journey, but at least we were taking the first steps together. The weeks that followed were a blend of uncertainty and cautious optimism. Lisa and I started attending couples therapy, and I approached each session with a mix of hope and skepticism. The therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Stevens, helped guide our conversations, creating a safe space for both of us to express our feelings. It was painfully raw at times, but it also forced us to confront issues that had simmered beneath the surface for years. I remember one session vividly. Lisa was sitting across from me, her eyes red from crying. "I didn't realize how much I had shut you out," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I thought I could handle everything on my own, but I was so wrong. I felt like I was drowning." Dr. Stevens nodded thoughtfully. "It sounds like there was a disconnect in your communication which led to feelings of isolation for both of you. Lisa, it's important that you express your needs to Aaron, and Aaron, you need to be receptive to those needs." I glanced at Lisa, searching for the remnants of the woman I had loved. "I want to listen, but it's hard," I said quietly. "I'm still figuring out how to trust you again. How do I know this won't happen again?" "I promise I'll do everything I can to show you," Lisa replied earnestly, her eyes locking onto mine. "I'll share my feelings and I'll be more open. I've realized that my actions drove a wedge between us and I want to change that." As we continued with therapy, I started to see some progress. Lisa became more attentive, and I felt her genuine desire to make things right. She would text me throughout the day, asking how I was feeling, or just to let me know she was thinking of me. In some ways, it felt strange, almost forced, but there were moments when I could see the flicker of hope that maybe we could rebuild what we had lost. However, there were also setbacks. Old wounds would occasionally resurface, and I'd find myself spiraling into anger or sadness. One night I came home from work to find her talking on the phone in the kitchen, her voice sounding cheerful and light. For a moment I felt a pang of jealousy, the primal instinct to protect what was mine flaring up. I couldn't help but wonder if she was sharing the same laughter with someone else. After she hung up, I confronted her. "Who were you talking to?" I asked, my tone sharper than I intended. "It was just Emily," she replied, her brow furrowing in confusion. "We were catching up." "Why does it matter?" "Because it matters to me," I snapped, my emotions spilling over. "It's hard to trust you when I see you laughing and joking. It feels like you're hiding something." "I'm not hiding anything," she protested, her voice rising defensively. "I'm trying to have a normal life here, Aaron. I can't be on eggshells all the time. I need friends too." I took a deep breath, realizing I was projecting my insecurities onto her. "I know, I don't want to feel like I'm competing for your attention. It scares me." "I'm not trying to compete with anyone," she said, softening her tone. "I'm here with you. I want to make this work, but I need your trust too." Those moments of tension reminded me that while we were making progress, the scars of betrayal still ran deep. The healing process was neither linear nor easy, but I recognized that we both had to actively participate in rebuilding our relationship. Time passed, and we began to establish a new rhythm. We started going on weekly date nights, something we had neglected for far too long. I found joy in the little things, the way she would smile across the table, her laughter lighting up the room, and the moments of quiet connection we shared. But with every shared smile, there was an undercurrent of tension, a reminder of the precarious balance we were trying to maintain. One evening, after a particularly lovely dinner, I found myself staring at her across the table, reflecting on how far we had come. "I'm proud of us, you know," I said, my heart swelling with a mix of gratitude and trepidation. "We've faced some heavy stuff, but we're still here." "I know," she replied, her voice warm. "It hasn't been easy, but I love you, Aaron. I want to keep fighting for us." Tears threatened to spill from my eyes, and I swallowed hard. "I love you too. I just wish I could shake off this lingering doubt. It's hard to move forward when I keep looking back." "I understand," she said softly, reaching across the table to hold my hand. "But we're building something new together. It's not going to look like it did before, but that doesn't mean it can't be beautiful." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to embrace that vision of a renewed relationship, but the thought of trusting her completely felt daunting. The shadows of doubt still lurked in the corners of my mind, but for the first time, I felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could create something new from the ashes of our past. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself opening up more, allowing my heart to soften toward her again, but it was a cautious dance. I still struggled with the fear of being hurt again, but I was learning to communicate my feelings more openly, and Lisa responded with understanding and patience. Then came the day when I was sifting through some old files on my computer and stumbled across the receipts from that fateful night, the ones that had catalyzed my world turning upside down. My heart sank as I stared at the screen, the pain of betrayal surging back with vivid clarity. I realized I hadn't truly let go of the past. I hadn't fully processed the hurt. That evening, during our therapy session, I brought it up. "I found the receipts," I admitted, my voice shaky. "And it hit me like a truck. I thought I was moving on, but I'm still carrying this weight." Lisa's expression turned serious, and I could see the sadness in her eyes. "I'm so sorry for the pain I caused you," she said softly. "I hate that you're still hurting. I wish I could take it all back." "It's not just about the betrayal," I said, feeling tears prick at my eyes. "It's the loss of trust, the feeling of being blindsided. Even when we're having good days, that shadow is still there." "I want to help you carry that weight," she replied, her voice steady. "I can't undo what I've done, but I can promise to be transparent and honest moving forward. I want to be the partner you deserve." As I looked into her eyes, I felt a glimmer of hope mixed with the lingering doubts. We were both learning and growing, albeit clumsily. The path wasn't clear, but perhaps we could navigate it together. I knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but taking it one step at a time with her by my side felt like the only way forward. The journey wasn't over, and I still had a long way to go, but I finally felt like we were on the right track. I was learning to let go, one painful memory at a time, and in doing so, I was opening myself up to the possibility of love and healing once more. As the months rolled on, I began to understand that healing wasn't just about forgiveness, but also about rebuilding the trust that had been shattered. With each therapy session, we peeled back layers of pain, revealing old wounds and new vulnerabilities. I found solace in Lisa's determination to change, and slowly I started to let my guard down. One evening we were sitting on the couch, the soft glow of the television casting shadows around us. I glanced at Lisa, who was curled up with a blanket, her hair falling gracefully over her shoulders. I felt a wave of affection wash over me, something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in a long time. It was a mixture of love and wariness, but it was a start. "I was thinking," I began, my voice tentative, "about how much we've been through. It's hard to believe we're still here." Lisa looked up, her eyes softening. "I know, I'm so grateful we're still fighting for each other. I don't want to take that for granted. It's just, sometimes I feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop," I admitted. "I'm trying to trust again, but it's a slow process." "That's completely understandable," she said, her voice steady. "You have every right to feel that way. I need to earn your trust back, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I want to be the partner you deserve." Her sincerity struck a chord within me, and I realized that I was beginning to see glimpses of the person I had fallen in love with. The journey of reconciling our past was still ongoing, and we both knew there would be bumps along the way, but we were committed to navigating it together. As the weeks turned into months, we developed new routines, finding joy in the little things. We started cooking together again, experimenting with new recipes, and our laughter began to echo through the house once more. We took long walks on weekends, exploring local parks and rediscovering the beauty of each other's company. It felt like we were learning to love each other anew, and while the past still loomed in the background, it didn't overshadow our progress. One bright Saturday morning, we decided to take a day trip to the coast. The drive was filled with light-hearted banter and music, a refreshing change from the heaviness that had once enveloped us. As we arrived at the beach, the salty breeze filled the air, and I felt a sense of freedom wash over me. We walked hand in hand along the shoreline, the sun glistening on the waves, creating a beautiful backdrop for the moment. I glanced at her, noticing the way her face lit up with joy. "This is nice," I said, squeezing her hand gently. "It really is," she replied, beaming. "I love being here with you." As we strolled along the water's edge, I felt the weight of the past begin to lift, even if just a little. It was a reminder that life could still be beautiful and that love could still flourish, even after the storms. There would be challenges ahead, but I was beginning to believe that we could weather them together. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, we found a quiet spot to sit. Lisa leaned her head against my shoulder and I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her close. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. "I want to share something with you," she said, her voice soft. "I've been doing a lot of thinking and I realized that my actions stemmed from my own insecurities. I never meant to hurt you and I'm committed to being the partner you need. I want us to have a future together." I looked at her, searching for the truth in her eyes. "I want that too, Lisa. I just need to know that we're both on the same page and willing to face whatever comes our way." "We are," she said earnestly. "I love you and I'm ready to do the work. I know it won't be easy, but our love is worth fighting for." As I gazed into her eyes, I felt a warmth that had been absent for so long. It was as if the cracks in our foundation were slowly being filled with understanding and compassion. I realized that while the scars of betrayal would always be a part of our story, they didn't have to define our future. "I love you too, Lisa," I said, my voice steady. "I'm willing to fight for us, and I'm starting to believe that we can have a future together. It's going to take time, but I think we can find our way back to each other." She smiled, and in that moment I felt a sense of hope bloom within me. It wouldn't be easy, but we were both committed to the journey ahead. We had faced the demons of our past together, and now we were ready to embrace the possibilities of the future. As we sat on the beach, watching the last traces of sunlight disappear over the horizon, I knew that this was a new beginning. We were two flawed individuals, learning to love and trust again, but in that shared vulnerability there was strength. Together, we would navigate the complexities of love, and together, we would find our way back to each other. This experience had taught me that love is not just about perfect moments. It's about resilience, forgiveness, and the willingness to grow. With that understanding, I felt ready to step into the next chapter of our lives, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever came our way.